My name is Jason Benet. Today we have a very special guest.
I wanted to be different. I wanted to be something more than just a gross out horror film.
It was required by your contract that you had to deliver nudity and violence.
Wow, that really looks gross. Like, it's real.
We were actually in the cave, so there weren't any crocodiles there. The water was freezing. We didn't actually swim in them.
You know, I was scared, but I really liked the rush of it.
I'm a huge Dario Argento fan. I would happily have a giallo night.
The Thing and The Stuff. It sounds like I'm just saying gibberish, but those are names of movies.
The horror genre always evolves into something you're not expecting.
Why are we going here if everyone's died in this house?
I was actually scared as we were running through it.
Most of these guys who play really horrible characters are such sweet guys.
Part of this ongoing cult.
Anytime there's something spooky to be seen or heard or read, I'm there.
Horror has always felt like home to me.
Benet's Bloody Bits.
Welcome to Triple B. My name is Jason Benet. Dead and Buried is a great film that came out in 1981, directed by the man of the hour, Gary Sherman. Fantastic, grotesque effects by the late Stan Winston, and a humdinger of a twist ending long before M. Night Shyamalan was known for doing them. That's where I became familiar with Gary many, many years later. I'm interviewing him for the new issue of Delirium magazine, the 41st issue. And it's a two-part interview. Part one will be in this issue. Part two will be in the next one. But it's a movie I've always enjoyed, warts and all. It does have issues. We're long from the original cast as far as, Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams. Now we're living with, aunts and uncles. And so now we have, and Tom Skerritt. But at the core of the films has always been Carol Ann, Heather O'Rourke, Zelda Rubin playing Zelda back, but no more suburbia like the first film, no more Arizona desert like the second film. Now we're in Chicago, high-rise, state-of-the-art, spectacle kind of film. So the interview I did with Gary, it's a fairly long interview. It's why it was split into two parts. He talks about, the lighting. He wanted to do everything on set. So all the visual effects, none of this is post-production. Everything is in camera, on set. And I think that adds to it. And I like that, for this film, you've always when you think about The Other Side or Hell or whatever you want to call it, you always feel like it's warm, heat, fire, brimstone. This film is the complete opposite. It's cold, it's frigid, it's dealing with a different kind of atmosphere, literally and figuratively. And I think that's what adds to the film. Years ago, there was a review on, you remember Siskel and Ebert at the movies? They laid into the film. And they weren't ever big horror fans, so they always had a chip on their shoulder about it. But I remember how they said, Carol Ann's name was said so much in the film. And when I first watched it, I didn't notice it. But years later, somebody calculated it, and it was well over 100. But I'm sure if you look at all those films with Carol Ann, they said her name, way too often. But that's, as a horror fan, I kind of look past those things. I really like the fun, the thrill, the scares. Is Poltergeist 3 scary? No, only one film in the series has been scary, and that was the original. But this one is entertaining. Has a very young Laura Flynn Boyle. Zelda Rubinstein is back. Heather O'Rourke, one of her last films. I actually believe it is her last film because she got sick. You could see, when you're watching the film, that her face is puffy and round, and she had some medical issues, but she was a trooper, and she worked her way through it, and it's still a fun film. She is was a professional. You can see that as you're watching the show, and it's just a hard film to watch. Anytime somebody who passes away, either making the film or when the film was about to be finished. And one of the things is when you watch Poltergeist 3, Heather O'Rourke is pretty much in all the scenes. But when you get to the end, you see it's not her. There's a scene where she's being held up, or the character of Carol Ann's being held up, but you don't see the face. You see the outfit, but that's kind of, as much as Gary liked doing the film, he loved doing the special effects on set, continue the legacy of the story. He really, once Heather passed, he really was done with the project. He really didn't want to finish it. But he had a contract with MGM, United Artists, and he had to finish it. But if you think about it, when the film was released, there was really no publicity for it. It's kind of hard to when, a child, died, and, what are you supposed to do? Go out there with a big smile on your face and, yay, we love doing the film. So there's really not a lot of press for the film and interviews. There might be an old electronic press kit when they were making the film before she passed away that you could kind of watch. There's been different endings. Gary Sherman does talk with me about that. A lot of controversy around that. Some people say he hasn't owned up to the different endings. I just think it's a sore spot with Gary, because you have to remember, he was a pallbearer at Heather O'Rourke's funeral. So, man, with a heavy heart, had to go back and finish this film after dealing with that. Many years ago, I did visit her gravesite, which was very devastating and humbling, because you see her name on, the tombstone, Heather O'Rourke, and then you see her birth date and you see her death date. And obviously she lived a short life, but while she was here, she made a huge impact. So yeah, I mean, this was kind of a tough interview in that sense. Not all, one-on-one conversations are going to be fun and games, but these things, as an adult, and as a professional journalist, you have to ask those questions, but do it respectfully, and you don't step on anyone's toes. And I think you'll get the best answers and the most honest takes. Poltergeist 3, like I said, I've always enjoyed it. I watch it as much as the original. Never was a big fan of part 2, The Other Side. But yeah, Gary Sherman's had a long career doing action movies, horror films, a lot of cool things. And yeah, check out Delirium issue 41. It's now available directly from fullmoonhorror.com if you just want to order it online. Delirium is now available on bookstores, newsstands across North America and Canada. And then issue 42 of Delirium will have part 2. And I'll do another video on that. But yeah, I just want to talk about my interview with Gary Sherman. Very nice guy, very sweet. Years ago, I did go see a screening of the original Poltergeist, and Zelda Rubinstein was there, and that was very nice to see her in person. But yeah, Poltergeist 3 on Blu-ray through Scream Factory. Perhaps one day they'll do a 4K. I wouldn't be surprised, because they just announced a bunch of other films on 4K. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts, on Poltergeist 3? Love it, hate it. It seems to have 2 evenly divided camps. There's not much in between, but I enjoy it. Like I said before, warts and all, it's not a perfect film, but I do appreciate the change of scenery, something different that we haven't seen yet, high-rise building. I do enjoy the casting, Tom Skerritt, Nancy Allen, and yeah, Heather O'Rourke's, sadly, her swan song in life and cinema. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon. Stay scared.